Fire Mage is getting better in Dragonflight Alpha with the new and improved talent changes from our last video. If you haven't checked that out, you should probably watch it after this, because today we're gonna go into the changes for everything that you might be interested in as a Fire Mage coming into Dragonflight Alpha. And before we go into that, if you want to look the part and you want to represent the channel and you want to support us a little bit more, check our new merch link down below with new designs that we've put up on TeePublic, and you can get pretty much something like this, like on cooldown TLF, or you can choose some of the new designs, which are maybe some of the thumbnails that you might have seen in the tier lists that we've been having for so long. And obviously you can get them on t-shirts, on mugs, on masks, on pillowcases, cases for phones, for laptops, for notebooks, for everything. And you'll be able to, represent WoW and help the channel out. Plus, I think there's still, depending on when you watch this video, as of publishing this video, there's probably still 1.5 more days of 20% discount that you can check. Once again, hit the link down below and check out some cool new merch. Maybe there's something there for you in your favorite color. And with that out of the way, let's actually take a look at Fire Mage. And Fire Mage, as all of the other mage specs that we've already covered, has had a lot of changes in the talents to actually make the talents better. Now, the changes are not that many, however, the changes that are there are actually making Fire way more playable, way more interesting. And to address maybe one of the biggest concerns that people have had looking at the old Fire Mage, which was something that pretty much all specs had, but it was probably more evident with Fire Mage, is that a lot of core mechanics like hot streak and stuff were in the talents and you had to talent into them, and that felt very weird. Now that's gone. And before we get into that, let's quickly talk about the general talents. And we already covered them in the Frost and in the Arcane video. However, there are a couple of things that are relevant to Fire Mage that I'm gonna go through. So first of all, if you do take a look at the general talent tree for Fire Mage, you'll see that it's been rearranged and it looks so much better. Not only is it better, it's less annoying. That's the biggest thing. It's so much less annoying because the talents have been rearranged and repositioned so that you have easier picks and you're not forced into stuff that you don't want. And some of the best examples for that are Rune of Power versus the Encounters Flow node, which is past the first gate right now, and it's very accessible for any point in the left or the right hand side, and you can get to it however way you want to, and you're not really sacrificing any throughput because every node that leads to a Rune of Power that lets you get Rune of Power is just utility. There's no other throughput that you actually need to get outside of this. There's still one not that implemented yet that took place, I think, of Con of Cold, which is gone. We'll wait to see what that turns into, but for now, that's one of the best examples. The other two are basically Spell Steal on the left hand side and Remove Corruption on the right hand side, which were prior to this like mandatory to get. I believe Remove Corruption was mandatory to get Rune of Power, which was weird because maybe you don't need to. Remove Corruption is very situational, and both of these are positioned in such a way where you can actually bypass them. Sure, you spend a few more extra points, but you spend points in general survivability. That's always going to be useful as opposed to something that's very situational and niche. Also, there's been a massive reduction in points needed to get certain nodes, and some of the ones that are throughput that you would have been interested in is the Tome of Ronin and Tome of Antonidas, which are now 1 point each. I believe they were 2 point each last time, so you essentially save up 2 points by getting these two, and also they're very accessible as well. There's about 3 ways that you can get to each one of these, which is freaking amazing. And there's a couple of new capstones, which it's a little bit contentious for Fire Mage. So first of all, we have Temporal Warp, the legendary that we have right now in Shadowlands. Reflection, which is very utility based, very movement based. I can see this being very good in PvP. It lets you teleport back to the last place you've blinked from within 8 seconds of blinking, which is really good. Can be a very interesting utility point to get when you need positioning, especially in raids with certain mechanics. That can probably save your ass, or not make you sacrifice a combustion proc or anything like that. And you also have Freezing Cold, which is maybe less interesting for Fire Mage, although you can get the Shatter and potentially have that going on. I'm not sure if Fire Mage can actually take full advantage of this. Not to mention that all of these new capstones are a bit contentious, and the reason I'm saying that is because you'll probably definitely want Dragon's Breath, which is all the way on the right hand side, and you'll probably also want Shifting Power, which is all the way on the left hand side. since, you know, this is kind of the playstyle now, Dragon's Breath is actually really good, especially if you take a specific talent that makes it crit all the time. It actually, I don't know if it's intended or not, but now it actually funnels into hot streaks, so you can use Dragon's Breath to proc those hot streaks, which is really good. I mean, it definitely makes the rotation smoother, so with that argument, I believe that Dragon's Breath might be mandatory. I'm not a big fan of Meteor. It's very lackluster, it has almost no interaction, it just deals fire damage. But the flexibility of the talent tree is definitely there, and we'll see how that turns out. It's good to know that you don't have to sacrifice your damage to get the mage utility that will make you the best mage for that particular encounter. And we can actually go into the Spec talent tree, and you'll notice a couple of reductions here and there. Now, the reductions are not that many. First of all, we have 35 nodes as opposed to the past 36 nodes. However, certain things have become baseline, and we have 1 or 2 new additions. First of all, Hot Streak and Fire Blast rank 2 have been taken away out of the talent tree from the past one, and now you can see that the middle side is a little bit less clustered, less really awkward, and you'll notice that Phoenix Flame has also been bumped up really close above the first gate, which is, I mean, good. It's part of the regular kit right now. And there's one new talent also above the first gate, which is Fervent Flickering. Now, I'm not sure if this is an older mechanic that came back from a past expansion. However, it is new in this talent tree, and it makes that ignite damage have a 5% chance to reduce the cooldown of Fire Blast by 1 second. This is pure AoE, and it is in the AoE side of the talent tree, and it's pretty good. Think about, you know, big pools like 10 to 15 mobs. Like, each ignite tick has a chance to reduce the cooldown of Fire Blast, which is really good, especially in situations where you kind of really want to just proc all of those hot streaks on Flame Strike, and you know, you cannot really generate Flame Strike and AoE efficiently by just casting Fireball. You could, but you know, you probably just want to Fire Blast, Flame Strike, Fire Blast, Flame Strike, or in other cases also weave in Phoenix Flames. If you do pick the Alexstrasza's Fury, that makes Phoenix Flames and Always Critical Strike and Dragon's Breath contributes to hot streaks, and also Dragon's Breath Always Critical Strike, which makes it so that you have way more, let's say, options to consume them. And this is all the way on the left hand side of the tree, however, and I can imagine that this particular talent, Alexstrasza's Fury, is probably way better in AoE, since you have more sources of hot streaks, once again, for those flame strikes, since the flame strikes themselves do not contribute towards your hot streaks. And a couple of other talents have been moved around. I'm not going to talk too much about them. That's not necessarily important. You only have to know specifically, unless you actually go there yourself and look at them, is that the talent tree makes more sense now. It's less annoying, and that's maybe the biggest takeaway. But what is important is that Pyroclasm has been moved from the right-hand side of the talent tree all the way to the left-hand side of the tree. Left-hand side of the talent tree, which is something that I've expected, and I've mentioned the first thing when I looked at it, because it does really sync way better with the Sun King legendary. So Pyroclasm and Sun King are on the same side, while instead of Pyroclasm, now you have Pyromaniac there, which is a choice node with Molten Skyfall, and this is something that needs to be simmed, of course, but Pyromaniac is just probably way better. Molten Skyfall seems like it takes forever to do. It's on an AoE path, and you have to shoot out a lot of fireballs. And although I did test this out a little bit on a training dummy, I kind of try to put myself in a situation where you're like in a massive AoE fight, and you're just hard casting flame strikes, right, for that flame patch. And also that, you know, the flame patch having a chance to proc Living Bomb talent. That's also really good. So, and you know, with the ignites and everything. So I thought that if you are going to be in a big AoE fight where you're just gonna hardcast flame strikes, the chances of Molten Skyfall proccing is very low. It takes forever to build up, and obviously this is like very quickly build up in single target. We're just like spamming fireballs, and Pyroblasts, of course, which is not a big deal. However, it is on the AoE side of the talent tree, so maybe this could be good if you are playing like High Mythic Plus and it's a Tyrannical week and you want that extra boss damage as well, as opposed to Pyromaniac. But then again, the differences between the two really need to be simmed in proper content, so it's hard to say which one is better. I just feel like Molten Skyfall takes so long to proc that it's just particularly, useless for me, but then again, I might be wrong. We'll see when we have access to Mythic Plus in raids, of course. And because of all of the changes, these two and the reduction in talent points, nodes, and accessibility has made it so that it's easier to make a build with all the new capstones. You can essentially have 2 capstones right now, and plus 1 or 2, depending on how many capstones you can get. You can probably reduce one to get the semi-capstones, I would like to call them. Pyroclasm would be one of them. Pyromania would be another one, right? Because they're slightly out of the way. They don't build towards the capstone themselves, so you cannot really... They're an extra point, right? So you would have to justify them. So obviously they complement the builds, kind of. If you look on the right-hand side, Pyromaniac, you could say that might complement Fiery Frenzy. So that's also really good. And obviously Pyroclasm complements Sun King. It is the playstyle that we have right now. This is like a quick rundown of the Fire Mage. It's actually looking really, really, really good. And yes, we do like to do these types of videos because the changes are actually very positive. They're making the talent tree feel way better. They've taken away some of the things that people didn't particularly vibe with the hot streak and the improved Fire Blast, which I can accept, right? I'll give you that. It's just that all the specs have this. All the specs have basic core mechanics baked into the talent tree. And hey, I am for putting those baseline in the spellbook and putting new stuff in, like Fervor Flickering, which is really cool mechanically. So maybe we can see this in other specs as well. But what do you think? Is Fire Mage looking like the spec that you needed to look like to main in Dragonflight Alpha? And do you particularly feel like there should be any other changes? The devs are actually very open to communicating and accepting the feedback, and obviously the Altered Time Discord and all the online forums are doing a really good job at putting out all of the feedback to make the talents actually feel really fun. And Fire Mage actually seems very straightforward right now, and you can build it, and there's different builds, and it looks really, really fun. But we'll leave that to you guys to decide. Once again, if you want to support the content and you want to actually look the part and have a little bit of swag, check the merch link down below in the TeePublic. Maybe you'll find a design or a color or an item that you might want to brand with the Marcelian Online designs, graphics, identity for your liking. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you, dear patrons, for supporting our content. Love y'all very, very much. Appreciate all the effort that you're doing to support the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.